Jeff is so happy to have you here today.
I'm very happy to be here.
I feel
Thank
like you've made such a huge impact in Bombay today when it comes to theatre and real theatre, real acting. And I'm so happy to have you here today. It's completely my pleasure. I'm going to completely jump into the questions.
Go ahead.
So today you've been teaching theatre.
Yes.
And theatre has been sort of central to your journey.
Surprisingly, but yes.
What does theatre give you that a film can't?
Well, it's actually funny because, most people, not most people, many people know a lot of my work through the theater. But funnily enough, my career actually began with film.
Oh.
When I was a kid, I wanted to be a filmmaker, and theater was a complete accident of chance and time, and I'll explain what I mean. It was just by the grace of good luck that I had a lot of actors around me whom I was training and working with.
Yeah.
And of course, at an acting studio, you need to have a stage because for actors, the minute they step up on that stage, even if it's just 6 or 12 inches up into the air, suddenly they feel like they're on the stage.
Yeah.
Right. So we had a stage, we had some lights, and at this point of our journey at the studio, we were about 2-3 years in, and I was starting to do the rounds from Bandra to Andheri, Bandra to Juhu, trying to get my films going,
Absolutely.
my scripts going, and I just found that I was stuck in traffic more often than not.
That's Bombay.
Yeah.
That's Bombay for you. I think Bombay, we spend most of our time in the car.
Right.
Commuting.
So I never owned a car. So here I was stuck in traffic listening to the radio. This is before wonderful podcasts like this one. And I just sort of realized that I was spending more of my time driving to meetings to discuss projects than actually directing. So I just turned around to the people at the studio one day and I said, let's put up a play. And they said, okay. And here we all were, sort of relatively new or experienced at this, and we did it. And theater has just kind of become this place where I just work, and that's what I really enjoy about making stuff, albeit films, albeit theater, albeit acting, albeit writing. I just want to work. I'm not one of these people who enjoys talking about work. One does spend a lot of time doing that.
Yeah, one does.
Which is fine, but at a certain point the rubber has to hit the road and you have to do it. So my journey for theater has been really enriching, and it's sort of interesting because as a director, theater works with a different set of tools than film. Film is very image-centric.
Yeah.
It's a lot of other things that are not necessarily part of the directing process of working with an actor.
Yes.
And what I've loved about theater is that it's given me the chance to work with two of my favorite things. One is the script.
Absolutely.
Two is the actor. And it just really trains you on how to take what is on the page and put it on the stage, and how to take the emotion and the beat and the magic of what is written and turn it into the magic of what is performed.
Yeah.
So I've enjoyed it immensely. And what I get from theater, to answer your question more specifically,
yes,
what I get from theater and not film is the following. Theater is still a place where we debate ideas. Films, because they appeal to a wider audience and
massy,
right,
massy, yes,
massy, but also look, they're just a lot more expensive.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
They're just a lot more expensive. So you got to sell a lot more tickets and popcorn and soda. And people, when they watch a film, they want to connect, disconnect, engage, but they want to traverse the story and not get into too much of themselves.
The nitty-gritty of the actual.
Right. Theater is a place where you can still debate ideas, where you can still debate causes, where you can still debate social agendas, where politics is part of the core of what we do, where society and the dreams and the nightmares of society are still at play. And I love that about theater because it permits that intimacy, it permits that humanity, which I think film certainly has, but it expresses in a different way. That's what I get from it. It
expresses in a very, very, very different way, I guess, from theatre.
Sure.
My second question to you is, you've done work through New York and you've done work through Mumbai. What do you think is the difference in the way the audience perceives it and the audience energy?
Oh, good. That's a good question.
Yeah.
To be fair to your question, my career as a maker, a creative person, is more actually in Paris and Mumbai than New York and Mumbai. Yes, I am from New York, born and raised.
Yes.
But I left New York when I was 18.
That's really young.
Yeah, I was quite young. And I haven't really had too much of a go of my professional work on stage or in film in New York. I've had the pleasure of having a film in New York. I've had the pleasure of having a show in New York. But never really got to know the New York audience. But I think what Paris gave me, Paris was my film school.
Yeah.
You know, and when I say it was my film school, I did get my master's degree there, but I was also there for 9 years writing films.
That's so long.
Yeah, you know, and the thing is, you know, and I've said this to every creative person, yourself included, everybody should live in Paris for at least a year. Because everything about Parisian life is creative.
It is.
And what I mean is like, you know, even the bus stops.
They're gorgeous.
Yeah,
They're absolutely gorgeous.
You know, the metro, it's beautiful, right? Like, so there's this aesthetic sensibility about everything. And it's not always utilitarian where, like, you know, we need a bus stop, so just make a bus stop. You know, it has to be a pretty bus stop.
It's everything in Paris is so aesthetic. I think I was only there for a day for a layover.
You mentioned.
And I absolutely fell in love with it. And I was like, I have to do it again and I have to do it right.
Yeah.
I don't want to be there for a few hours. I actually want to like go there, be there, take in the city.
You should. So, I mean, I think that Paris gave me was a cinematic sensibility of the French cinematic language. But also, you know, one of the things that a lot of people don't think of when they think of the French is the French are really funny. Now, most people don't think the French are funny because they don't speak French.
Yeah.
But the French are actually very, very funny when you speak French. And they have a sense of humor that's very wry, that's very sarcastic. I found
them very rude.
Well, of course, because the French, English is not a language that they feel comfortable in. Some people, of course, but for the most part, it's not really their language. They don't feel the language. But the French are very funny, and there's a certain aspect of their self-reflexive sense of humor that I love.
Mm-hmm.
And in India, you know, India is where you meet the most human people you will ever meet.
You truly believe?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, surely not everyone is wonderful and terrific, and surely not everyone's horrible and terrible. It's a real mixture, of course, but I think in India what you find here is people are extremely grounded.
Yeah.
Because the culture is so all-consuming and so old, and everyone recognizes that they're a passenger through that rather than trying to shape it. And I think that there's a certain degree of acceptance and humanity for the better and for the worse that I really enjoy. As for making theater here, it's very fascinating because, you know, English theater in Mumbai is a very interesting mixed bag of attempts. Some are very good, some aren't so good.
Yeah.
It's a real mixed bag. But I think what I love about making theater here is, to come back to what I was saying in the previous question, is the freedom. There's so much freedom to try things. And that's something else that I really love about, especially about Indian actors for the stage. They're just up to try stuff.
They're not like in a box.
They're hungry. They're starving. You know, we're actors in New York or London or even Paris for that matter. It's not that they're not hungry to learn or grow, but they're very well fed, so to speak, creatively. Maybe not in terms of money, because theater actors don't make very much.
Yeah.
But they're well fed in terms of creative output. Here, not as much.
Yeah, also I feel, you can correct me if I'm wrong, obviously I don't know much about theatre, but I think Bollywood as a genre, like India, stars get a lot of attention and validation. Whereas I feel in the West, people are not as obsessed with actors.
Well, I mean, look, I think, again, this is something that we hear a lot about, you know, the professionalism, the stardom, the star systems. I think it has a lot to do with culture. Let's be clear. You know, the U.S., Europe is a more secular country in terms of the fact that people are certainly, they believe, and there is faith, but it's not as pervasive and ubiquitous as here in India.
It's not.
Where everybody here in India has some relationship to their faith and their belief system.
Absolutely.
And when you start to get into mythology and faith, heroes and things that go beyond heroes, and then of course deities and stuff like that, that's a real part of people's lives, and that's not something that's foreign to them. It's not part of their, it's not part of the vernacular of their lives. And then suddenly someone breaks out of the society, rises to the top of their game, and they're everywhere. Yeah,
they're on your Instagram, they're on your feed, they're on your hoardings, they're everywhere, even if you don't want to consume them.
Exactly, even if you don't want to, exactly. So I think that that's one of the things driving it. But also I think that, you know, look, I mean, to be fair, I don't understand the film industry at all. So everything I say is just throwing darts in the dark. But my guess is this, is everybody I've ever met who are, say, at the top of the Bollywood food chain, and I've met a few, they've always been gracious, they've always been kind, they've always been really talented, hardworking, and appeared to be doing what they were doing out of a great drive, passion, love, and conviction. So the fact that they've achieved the heights of those success, more power to them.
More power to them.
You know,
Genuinely.
I mean, I think everybody today is so interested in trying to figure out how to tear that down. When in fact, actually, I think it's maybe sometimes, you know, if you don't love it, that's okay, but that's not a reason to be annoyed at it. You know, I'm a little bit more secular on those matters.
You're secular on those matters, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you sometimes feel like theatre is not given as much importance, like it's undervalued in comparison to films?
Depends upon who you ask. What I mean is this. Of course, films are much better known because the public can see them.
Absolutely.
Of course, they make a lot more money.
A lot more money.
Right. But, like I said, theater is a special place because that's where you go where you really want to challenge something. And the challenge, you know, people hear the word challenge, you think like tear down the government. That's not what I mean. Challenge something could be challenge something in yourself.
Beautiful.
Could be challenge something in your own life or the lives of others. But theater is a place where debate, where conversation, where fearlessness belongs. So when you use a word like important or given importance, I think we have to be a little bit careful. Because, of course, in terms of money, in terms of notoriety, films win. But in terms of what can exact real change, I'm not so sure that that's the case. I'll give you an example. When you watch a film, you know, you've got your soda on one side, your popcorn on another,
side,
your loved one on your left and your right.
Hopefully.
Right, hopefully. Or you're, you know, the person you're going on a date with or whatever it is. However, what I was going to say is in theater, in a cinema, there's still a screen, and you know that the people on the screen aren't actually there. But in theater, they're right there.
They're like in front of you. That day showed me a bit, and it was so beautiful to actually watch something like that.
Yeah, it's right there.
Yeah.
And you can't escape that. And that's a very powerful feeling.
It's a beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah, it's a very powerful feeling. So I would say theater is the only art that in every generation someone pronounces it dead. The theater is dead. But for the last 5,000 years, it keeps going.
It keeps going.
Yeah. So, and it will continue to go. So I think that they're both very important. There's a place in the performing arts for both. But I think ultimately, as an artist, some things, and I think this is very important as well. Today, everybody's obsessed with, and I share this with my actors all the time, everybody's obsessed with their video going viral, followers and numbers and all of that. Okay.
Yeah.
I point out to my actors all the time, how hard is it to get you out of your house on a Friday night? For me to get out of my house, out of my pajamas, and go to anything, a theater, a film, a party, a concert, a bar, to go down the street to buy chocolate. I'm not getting out of my house on a Friday night.
I'm younger than you, but I still don't want to get out of my house.
Okay. You get me out of my house on a Friday night, you need to do something.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, when my actors sit there and say, oh, no, Jeff, there are 50 seats at the theater and only 20 have sold. I said, 20 people
have gotten out of
their house to see you.
Yeah.
You know how hard that is?
How validating that actually is.
I'm like, you need to keep in mind, those 20 people are coming to see you. And I'm like, listen, I'm the producer of your show, and I'm not coming. And I live 20 minutes walk from here. I'm not coming. And what I mean to say is this, I think that we've lost the plot with these numbers, these analytics. Surely they're important because they are a metric of something. But if you invited 30 million people to my house, they all won't fit there.
Yeah.
And I can't have a conversation with 30 million people.
Yeah.
I can't have a conversation with 300 people. So I think that we have to also, and this is what I said earlier about theater and about India, let's get back down to human-sized things, right? Because what are the arts for if nothing more than to start conversations about whatever you endeavor to talk about? Albeit that painting, radio, music, performing arts, film, photography. I think that, today everyone is so obsessed with this metric and this viral sensation.
And I feel like everyone's just in that rat race and, it's...
Yeah, they are in the rat race, but you know what? And that's okay too. I'm not judging. I'm just saying that, for me, when I have a show, or when I make a film, or when I do anything, if someone walks up to me and says, "Jeff, I really liked what you did," that's a lot more valuable to me than the number of people who watched it. Honestly, I mean that. And I think it's because maybe it's just because I'm a little bit older, or maybe it's just because that's how I am. But I feel like the work I try to do and the things that have always touched me are things that really knock something loose inside my soul, or inside my heart, or inside my head. And if I got someone thinking, feeling, or imagining, experiencing, right? That's it.
Then you won, yeah.
Right, absolutely. And I think, and you see with, you mentioned you're younger than I, which indeed you no doubt are. I think you guys, it's funny, right? I love telling this story. Yeah. I have a 14-year-old son, and 2 years ago, so he was 12, we were in a record store in New York, and he knows what records are because I have records. And then, behind the counter, he saw these plastic things that looked like records. They were silver in color. And he said to me, "Dad, what are those?" And I said, "CDs." And he's like, "What's a CD?" And I just giggled. I was like, "You don't know what CDs are, right?" But what I mean is this, is that if people are buying CDs again, if people are buying records again, then I think that says something about the fact that we want things we can touch and feel.
Yeah.
The digital world can't do that.
Yeah.
Maybe one day with AI and all this stuff it can. But even still, there's this great film a couple of years ago by Spielberg called Ready Player One. Did you hear this film?
No.
Right, there's this film, and at the end of the film, there's this wonderful, I'm sorry if I'm ruining it for someone.
No, not at all.
But there's this great thing at the end of the film, which is, the virtual world has everything under the sun you can imagine and more.
Yeah.
But you can't get a great meal. You can't eat it. And I think that once we realize that there's still a lot left for us in the tactile world that you can touch and smell and feel.
And experience.
Exactly. Then I think, that's coming back. That's my contrarian view to all of it.
No, I agree with you. I feel like as human beings, it's so important. Like, you can definitely go and watch an artist on a screen, but you're not going to feel that connection to them that you would probably feel with someone you can actually sit and spend time with, or someone that you're watching so closely.
Totally. I mean, and I think, but and again, the artist on the screen, there's a place for that.
Yeah.
But there's a place for the artist in front of you. And I think that both have value. And I think that's what's important to understand, is that, today we're in such a rush in one direction that the lessons of that sometimes get forgotten.
They get forgotten, yeah.
And those lessons sometimes are just as important as to where we're headed.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Thanks.
So, Jeff, since you are a method actor,
right,
what is the biggest myth that actors have about good acting?
Oh, goodness me. Method acting and the myths about it. Well, the biggest myth is everyone kind of knows what method acting is. And they think like, if I think of my dead dog, I'll cry. And as bad as that sounds, it kind of is what it is in a weird way. No, I think, one of the biggest challenges method acting has today is a challenge it's had actually from the very beginning. Method acting took the world of the actor by storm. And it did it in an unassailing and rather brutal way. Let me explain what I mean.
Yeah.
Is when method acting really kind of hit ground zero in the 1950s, particularly in the United States, and the real first sort of explosion was Marlon Brando's performance in A Streetcar Named Desire. And, as everything new does, it comes in, it's brash, it's exciting, it's all consuming, but, at the same time, all the energy swings that way, it kind of leaves out those who were doing another form of acting, which is classical acting. So suddenly actors like Rock Hudson, Spencer Tracy, not Marlon Brando, he was the father of, the main actor of method acting, but someone like, Jimmy Stewart, Cary Grant, of course, Sir Laurence Olivier, all these classical actors suddenly felt like the ocean had moved away from them. But these guys were big stars.
Yeah.
So they didn't understand, what is this method acting? Just get out there and act. And there was a lot of...
Just go out there and
there was a huge debate between method actors and classical actors at this time in the 50s and 60s. That debate never really has gone away.
Okay.
It's still very much here. But I think I've heard it said very well by a few other people, including Daniel Day-Lewis, who's himself a method actor, is the two things that I love about the method are how process oriented it is. It's really about having a process and an approach.
And do it again and again
and again and again and again. But it's also about, immersive acting, immersing yourself in it. And what cameras and the intimacy of audiences can do today is, rather than watching a screen, it's almost like having a window into someone's life.
Beautiful, yeah.
And the method lets you live as a character. You immerse yourself in this actual, real crucible of that human being's life.
Yeah.
And it becomes a very transformative experience. And that immersive aspect of the method, I think, is what I really love about it. But of course, one of the things that's very commonly misunderstood is, Jeff, if I play a psycho killer, will I become a psycho killer?
Yeah, does it impact you generally?
Look, but I would say in any actor, it's a good question, actually. And to be fair, no, you're not going to become a psycho killer, because a psycho killer is a person that you are not. But of course, it's like anything. What you bring to it, it will perhaps exacerbate or embellish. So if you're having troubles in your own life, if you're having some issues with your own mental health and things like that, and you throw yourself into a character who's mentally unstable, yeah, it could accentuate that. It can. I'm not going to lie. Of course, it can, in as much as that. Does it make you more crazy? No. But does it perhaps give you more license to explore your own craziness? Yes. But look, what I would say is this, is that as an actor, any role you take up from any school of acting, classical, folk, method, process, whoever you are, you have to be really responsible about that choice.
Yes.
I think one of the things that a lot of people don't understand, this is true for filmmakers, this is true for photographers, artists of all kind, you have a responsibility to what you're creating. And it can't just be violent or gory or gruesome or painful or hard or, overtly sexual, just because you think that's going to sell.
But that's what a lot of people, I think, believe in.
100%. And they do. And I get that. But the thing is, like, once you put that image out there and you put your name on it, you own it.
You own it. It's out there for anyone
to
watch.
You own it. And there's this wonderful line in the film The Social Network by David Fincher, written by Aaron Sorkin. The internet's written in pen. It's not written in pencil. And today, especially you younger generations, there's a lot of things to do. You're documenting your whole lives.
Absolutely.
You're on Instagram. Yeah, exactly. Okay. There's a lot of things from my teenage life that I'm really glad
is not on the internet.
Yes.
I agree. I kind of agree, because I feel like if you see my previous Instagram account, like the pictures that it had or the content that it had, I feel like I would not want anyone to see it.
Totally.
I would not want anyone to see it.
Totally. My teenage life, I'm very glad that that's left in the 1990s. And what I mean to say is the following, is that we as image makers, be it a personal image maker on your Instagram, your Facebook, your social media handles, or as an actor on a screen, or as a filmmaker behind a camera, you have a responsibility to those images and those characters you create.
Yeah.
But the responsibility you have to first is yourself.
Absolutely.
And your own well-being. And if you're going to put yourself in a position, in a place where you could potentially run aground and do harm, you need to take ownership of that.
Yeah.
You need to recognize that. So I tell any actor, any filmmaker, any image maker, even people who just use Instagram, before you press send, before you sign the agreement, before you walk in front of that camera, ask yourself this question: do I really want to do this? Do I really want to do this? Is this what I want to broadcast to the world?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because once it's out there, it's gone. And you own it.
You own it.
And as long as you sign up for it, I think you're good to go.
You're good to go, yeah.
But I think one of the misunderstandings about method acting is that it is somehow going to ruin your life. Actually, I'll share something with you, a little insight.
Yeah.
I usually play people who are depraved maniacs, drug addicts, alcoholics. For some reason, no, not rapists. I don't want to go there.
Okay, we're not.
But I play people who tend to do a lot of self-harm to themselves.
And very destructive, yeah.
Yeah, self-destructive. I don't know why, because that's not how I am at all in my real life.
Yeah, you don't seem like that at all.
That's not how I am at all in my real life. I'm actually, by all accounts, a pretty nice guy, from what I understand.
You're a very nice person.
By all accounts, it seems. My dogs seem to like me, so I'm winning there. My son,
and we all like you.
Yeah, and my son hasn't run off just yet, and my partner still sticks around, so I think we're good. But what I mean to say is, I love playing people like that because it brings me to a side of myself
that you've not explored ever.
Exactly. And I love seeing how far I can go there and how truthfully I can get there because I know I get to come home.
Yeah.
Right? And that's one of the things that acting, especially immersive method acting, can do, is it gets you to visit addresses of your own life in different parts of yourself that you're not invited to, but the character lets you go there.
Yeah, and you get to be that person.
Exactly. So I'll give you an example. There's a character I play called David Coleman Headley. He's kind of in the headlines again lately because of this film Durandar that's doing quite well.
Yeah, and they're doing so well.
Yes.
Yeah.
David Coleman Headley has a small role in the film as the forward planner of the 26/11 attacks here in Mumbai. And I've played him for years and years and years.
Yeah.
He's a terrible person. By all accounts, he's a murderer. I love playing him because there's one thing about David that is so absolutely different than me, which is he's totally without morals.
He has no morals.
Morals whatsoever. As a character, he's an amoral human being. And I'm not like that.
Yeah.
And I think it's fascinating that in my own life, for those few hours I'm on stage as David Headley, I get to be that person.
And you get to experience what it feels like to be in someone else's skin. Almost.
Exactly. And I think that one of the things that the world could use a little bit more is that, being in someone else's skin, empathy.
Empathy.
Because today, we flick on the news and we see so much horror that we just forget that real people are living underneath all of that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Absolutely agree with you. As someone who treats actors from all different walks of life, do you see a difference in an insider versus an outsider?
Ooh, insider versus outsider. We got to define those. I think there are two typical definitions of insider. In the world of film, especially here in Bollywood, I will use the term Nepo babies.
Nepo babies.
Years ago, actually, I was talking with a television channel, or rather a television production company. They wanted to do a show about Nepo kids, and they wanted to call it Nepo Nation.
Nepo Nation.
I thought it was the greatest name ever.
Yeah, Nepo Nation.
What a great name for a show. Like, it's just amazing. Like, that's going to sell. They didn't do it. But, one of the things I explained to them about the Nepo Nation, because I've had the pleasure to work with some kids, some youngsters who come from that walk of life, it's unbelievably lonely. Yeah. Those guys have it tough. Because, I'll give you an example. Being famous is weird. And I'm not famous. But, okay, this is how I describe fame to people. Okay, when you go to a party?
Yeah.
And you don't know anyone there. And finally you meet someone and you're like, yeah, hi, I'm Anamika. And they're like, oh, wait, I know your mom and your mom told me this. And they start to know things about you.
Yeah, but that happens. That happens even in family businesses, I feel, because you are attached to the image of your family.
Totally.
And everyone sort of connects you with that.
Exactly.
But you're also your own person, and you also have your own thoughts, and you're an individual, maybe completely different from what they feel about certain things.
Totally. So that's a weird feeling, right?
It's a very weird feeling.
Now here's what I want you to imagine. Imagine everyone knows who you are everywhere you go, and they have the same feeling. Imagine that. That's what fame is. Yeah. That's tough. You walk into a restaurant, everyone knows who you are. And everybody has this image of you that they may have gotten from the Hindustan Times or the Bombay Times, or may have heard on the radio or heard on a YouTube clip. And that may or may not be true, or maybe a version of the truth that somebody wanted to sell. Yeah. Fame's weird. Now, I'm going to tell you an even stranger flavor of fame. Imagine being famous because your parents' famous.
That's even worse.
Imagine being famous for association. So everybody knows you from the time you were born because you were born.
Yeah, purely because of that. That's weird.
So Nepo Nation and kids who are insiders, so to speak, there's a huge amount of pressure on them, and there's a huge amount of loneliness.
And do you think an imposter syndrome exists in people like that?
I think there's an imposter syndrome in everybody today.
Yeah.
I include myself in that. But I just think that, imagine being 12 years old, and suddenly, you're both your buddies playing cricket, or you're with your friends and you're out having ice cream, and all the adults know who you are and are treating you differently than they are your friends because of your dad or your mom. That's a hard thing to reconcile.
And it's a very hollow feeling.
Exactly.
It really can mess with yourself.
And if you're a 12-year-old, that can be weird. It's like this grown-up is being a normal parent or a normal mom to this person, but they're being like nice to me, almost like a friend to me, almost like wanting something from me. And that happens.
You're just 13 or you're just 12.
Exactly. So, and I've seen this, not just with young kids, but with, even adults and stuff. So there's a tremendous amount of pressure on these youngsters because also, look, and here we are in India, going into dad's business, family business, so to speak. It's a very normal thing.
It's a very normal thing. It's almost like it's expected out of you.
Right. So imagine you grew up your whole life and you're on film sets, you're in rehearsals. Imagine, your uncles and your aunts and your friends and the people over at your house are all actors and filmmakers. I mean, now you're 18 and someone says to you, what do you want to do? And it's like, well, I'll do what all of them do.
Yeah, assume that.
But now the audience is like, no, but he can't do it because he's just getting those chances. Because it's like, but like, how do you reconcile that? So I'll give you an example. My son, Ishan, I often wonder what's going to happen with him because he's been on film sets and in rehearsals and readings and, working with actors from the time he was 6 months old.
Yeah.
I used to walk to the Lee Strasberg Institute in New York City where I worked when I was living in New York with him in my arms. And I remember one time this very famous actor, Vincent D'Onofrio, very famous American actor, opened the door for my son and I. And I was like, hey, Sean, that's Vincent D'Onofrio. And Ishan was just like that, he was a little baby. So I often think about that. So the insider thing, I think a lot of people don't realize how nuanced it is.
Yeah.
But to be fair, the outsiders, that's a tough road. That's a tough road.
That's a really tough road.
That's a tough road. That's a tough road.
With no connections and no privilege.
It's a tough road. It's a tough road. But that road is paved with only one thing: hard work and craft. You got to have your craft and you have to have hard work. And you got to keep showing up and you got to be patient. And as long as you're patient, process oriented on your craft and hardworking, you'll get somewhere. Where? No one knows.
Yeah.
But you'll get somewhere. And that's also true for the insiders. Because at the end of the day, the audience, they don't care about, they love reading the paper, they love watching the YouTube clips.
Yeah.
But you know what they really care about? When they're sitting in front of the cinema, when they're sitting in front of the show at this theater, or when they're watching the television, is what's on that screen working or not. And that's a very democratic thing.
Yeah.
And your last name and your family connections or not vanish. And a good example would be we talk a lot about Nepo Nation and the kids who didn't make it. But Alia Bhatt deserves to be where she is.
Alia Bhatt, 100%. I'm a huge fan of her myself. I genuinely think she acts really well.
Same goes with Ranbir Kapoor.
And I'm the biggest Ranbir Kapoor fan.
I'm a huge Ranbir fan. I'm a huge Ranbir fan. I'll tell you a funny story.
I absolutely love Ranbir.
No, I love Ranbir. I think he's great. He's actually, I've never had the chance to work with Ranbir. So if anyone out there that watches this, or if Ranbir sees this himself, Ranbir, call me. I'd love to work with you.
And can I come and meet you?
The whole team will go. I'm a really big fan of his work because when I watch his work, I can see someone who really cares about what he's doing.
And his eyes are so expressive.
Yeah, he really cares about it. And the same goes for Alia. And I just watched Ranbir for the first time in a long time in Dhurandhar. And I have to tell you, I was like, wow, like there's some real signs of brilliance in this performance.
Absolutely.
It was really, I was taken aback, especially in all the scenes he had with his love interest, Sarah Arjun.
Yeah.
I mean, those scenes, and she was fantastic.
She was so good.
She was great. She was great. I mean, she owned it. And it was just all around the cast was great. Honorable mention for Arjun Rampal. Akshay Khanna, of course. Of course, but Arjun Rampal as well. Yeah. But what I was going to say, though, is the insider-outsider thing, look, I know it gets a lot of talk, but I can assure you, when you're on a film set like we are here on this set now, the hours are long, the work is hard, the meal time is short, the time on your feet is a lot. You got to do the work or not. And
the tangible benefit that you're going to get is never guaranteed.
That's right.
Because
you got to do the work. Yeah. And that's true. So, I have had wonderful opportunities and experiences with students whom I've seen. So an example would be I'll talk about one of my Nepo Nation kids.
Yeah, Nepo Nation.
I was working with a young lady named Simmer Bhatia. Her first film, Ikis, just came out.
Yeah.
And, Simmer comes from a family where she has some, connections. But, Simmer came to me. She had just come back from the United States where she was working to become a basketball player. And I can tell you this, man. In every class she was at and everything she did, she was the hardest working girl in the room.
Wow.
She was. Yeah. I remember she came to me, she said, Jeff, what do I do now? And I said, listen, do my Hindi repertory program. She said, Jeff, I don't speak Hindi well enough. And I said, that's why you got to do it.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, she sat down and she learned that script. She learned those lines. She did that work. And now today in that film, we all see the result. And all of it is her work. Now I'll come to someone who is not a Nepo Nation kid. Someone like an actor named TJ Banu. She's been in Guns and Gulabs and a few South Indian films. TJ was a model. She walked around for many, many years. Beautiful woman. Yeah. But she had a hustle to make it work as an actor. She still does. But everybody that watches her on screen says the same thing. Who's that? Yeah. How'd she, So, look, at the end of the day, the beginning of the day, and all the way through the day, there's only one way you're going to make it. Work. That's it.
And what you told me the other day, that you even show up on bad days and you show up on days that don't feel
the bad days are the days you have to show up.
Yeah.
The days when you want to put the covers over your head and go back to bed.
And you just don't want to interact with the world. And just
And look, I get it. Life is tough, but you know what? And the thing is this is what I always tell actors when they first start their careers. Invest in yourself. Everything else feels so important, but in fact, what's really important is that investment you make in yourself. Yeah. Because that's the only one that's going to pay a dividend.
Just one more thing I felt in Dhurandhar, what I really liked in comparison to Animal, obviously, one thing which I liked is they didn't titleize women in Dhurandhar, is what I felt.
Well, I think Dhurandhar, of course there was less of a track for women in Dhurandhar. I haven't seen Animal, to be fair. Yeah. But I thought that Sarah Arjun, the young lady who played, I forget the character's Ranveer's love interest, she had wonderful presence. And what I loved about her work was she didn't stand out. She fit in.
Blended in. Yeah, I agree.
Right? And the thing is, what people often forget is that the actor is not there to stand out. The actor is there to be part of the story. So it's like, when you're looking at a mosaic, you want to be able to step back and see the whole piece.
Think for what it is,
Right? Surely there are going to be pieces that shine and should pop and stuff like that. But it's meant to be a whole piece. And that's what I really loved about the cast. And I even sent a message across to the casting director, Mukesh Chabra. Yeah. And as the film was ending, I wrote him a message. The best part of the film was the cast. And Mukesh, I give him all the credit in the world because he deserves it. He did a great job. That is a very good cast.
Very, very good film. Very, very good cast.
Very good cast. There was nobody in the film who I didn't believe. So I was very impressed by
Very
that.
amazing. Yeah. Jeff, since you work with so many dynamic individuals, do you feel acting is something that you need to teach, or do you feel in certain cases it's inherent and you can see the spark?
Okay. The answer to that question is a firm, solid, absolutely not. And the way I put this to actors all the time is very simple. And the way I put it to people all the time is even more simple. When you were born, did you know how to walk? Did you know how to talk? Did you know how to eat? Okay. Those are far more important things than acting. I know that we in the arts tend to make ourselves far more important and add a lot of hyperbole to what we do. But the fact of the matter is the arts are important. But without eating, we'd be in a lot more trouble.
Yeah.
And if you think that someone is born an actor but doesn't know how to walk, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it doesn't.
It doesn't make sense. Everything is learnt. Behavior is learnt. Now, as you grow towards the light, so to speak, the way a plant shapes himself or herself, so you see a tree twists or turns that way. What you're really looking at is how that plant grew towards the light.
Yeah.
As a human being grows towards the light, so to speak, of their experiences, they're shaped by those experiences. Their memories, their loved ones,
their
circumstances, their context, the school they went to, the friends they had, the opportunities that came their way, the things they didn't get. There's so many things that make us us.
So many things that make us us.
That no doubt you're going to have skill sets that help you be an actor.
Yeah.
But no one is born an actor. Is there a spark? Again, yes, but no. Let me explain what I mean. Spark elicits the idea that there's talent. Now, talent is the most intangible thing in the world.
It is.
Okay? Everybody knows that it's there, and everybody aspires to it, but unless you have some special alchemy or magic, you can't control it.
Yeah.
But what you can control is practice.
Yeah.
What you can control is work. What you can control is craft. What you can control is showing up every day.
Yeah.
Consistency. And this is the tortoise and the hare. And the problem with the hares in the race of acting is you jump out to a big lead and you think you're way ahead.
Yeah. That you've made it.
But you forget the tortoises are coming.
Yeah. And they're working.
And they're working. And they will catch up.
Yeah.
And they will surpass you. And I view myself in my career as very much a tortoise career. I, of course, went to film school in New York, Boston, and France.
Beautiful.
I had people who were a lot more talented than me.
Yeah.
None of them are in the business anymore.
Yeah, the grit to show up every day.
That's a great word, grit.
Yeah.
You got to have it. You got to have, chutzpah. And what I would say is look, yes, there are innate things, but you can't control them any more than you can control the weather.
Yeah.
Right? Everyone talks about luck, timing,
destiny,
and talent, spark. None of those things are in your control.
Yeah, those are all completely out of your control.
Totally. What is in your control is, can I show up for class on time? Did I learn my lines? Am I doing that show? Did I do that audition? Okay, did I learn something from that experience? Did I go to class? Did I get an education? Those are things you can control.
Yeah.
These other things, it's like standing there with a bucket hoping that the rain somehow magically hits you. And maybe you will be lucky enough for that to be the case. But we all know that the odds of that are really slim.
They're really slim. The percentage is so small.
Exactly. And what I would tell you, and what I often say to actors, I was just saying this to one of my newer actors today, is listen, you stay in this field long enough, you go to enough auditions, you're going to get something. Something.
At some point, something.
Something. It might not be the next Shah Rukh Khan film. It might be a commercial for, candy bars.
Yeah.
Or it might be, an industrial video on how to plug in the fan. You're going to get something.
Yeah.
The question isn't, will you get something? The question is, when you do, will you be ready?
Ready. Very good, yeah.
Will you be ready? And if you're not ready, that's no one's fault but your own. Because the one thing that we have in the arts, and everybody doesn't think you have this, you do, is time.
Yeah.
So the question isn't, do you have time? The question is, what are you doing with your time between now and that opportunity?
Yeah.
Because the worst thing in the world that can happen is the opportunity come, you're not ready, and it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
That's heartbreak.
That's heartbreaking, for sure. Yeah.
So that's my view of that particular topic.
So you were in Pathaan and Sam Bahadur.
Yes.
What was your working experience like?
Okay. Everyone loves to talk about Pathaan, so we'll talk about that second, not first. Sam Bahadur. That came across, and I didn't know that Vicky was going to be in the film, and I didn't know that I'd have a scene with him. I just knew that Meghna Gulzar was directing it.
Yeah.
So when the script came to me, it was Meghna Gulzar, and I'd already seen Talvar, a film she had done before that, about the Arushi case in Delhi, and I loved it. I loved that movie. I thought that was one of the best films that I had seen.
Yeah, I couldn't sit through it.
It's a tough one.
It was a really
to be fair, it's a tough one. But I loved the film, and I loved the filmmaking. I loved the writing. And of course, Meghna is Gulzar's daughter, and Gulzar is Gulzar. So it all kind of clicked. And then, and I had been whinging about the fact that I wanted to act as an American in the 20th century at some point, because all the roles that would come to me would be a British guy in the 19th century. Okay. So this came to me. I got to play an American guy in the 20th century, but not only an American guy, a Jewish American guy, Henry Kissinger. And I was like, are you kidding? This is great. Because not only is he Jewish and I'm Jewish, not only is he American and I'm American, I've read his books. So I was like, this is great. So, so that was fun. I got to play Kissinger. And on set, my scene was with Vicky and the woman playing, Indira Gandhi. I forget her name, the actor, suddenly. And, the one thing that I'll say about Vicky was he was sitting, so if I was sitting here, he was sitting there at the end of the table as Manik Shah, Field Marshal Manik Shah. And he just had to look at me. And he had the weight of the world in his eyes, which is what that needed, because it was about something with regards to the war in 1970 something in Bangladesh. And he had such a great process about him. He was locked in.
His character was
he was locked in. It was just great. And when you're on a set like that, you're working with a director like that, it's pure pleasure. And then Pathaan. Everyone always asks me, what is Shah Rukh really like?
Yeah, what is Shah Rukh really like?
I have 2 stories about Shah Rukh that I think are rather telling. Here he is, and, I get on set, and the director's like, all right, you have to punch him. You have to punch him. And he's tied to a chair, and I have to punch Shah Rukh Khan. And I'm like, hi, I'm punching Shah Rukh Khan today. And the director is a great guy, and Shah Rukh's there, and everyone's like telling him, he's got these 2 bodyguards who are like each 7'10", right? And they're like, you punch him like this, and the stunt coordinator's like, you punch him like this, and everyone's like, tell me how to punch him.
Yeah.
And finally, they're saying he, and Shah Rukh's sitting in the chair, and he looks up and he says, he has a name, and he looks at me, he said, what's your name? And I said, Jeff, and he said, hi, Jeff, I'm Shah Rukh. I said, hi, Shah Rukh, I'm Jeff. And he was so human in that moment, and it was so adorable, and I was just like, yeah, this guy gets it. He was a great guy. And then
did you punch him?
And then that's the second story, is I punched him. And everybody thinks it's hilarious that I punched him. And incidentally, in the cut that made it into the cinema, the punch was taken out. Oh, no. But then someone saw the film on Amazon, and they sent me the video of me punching him. Like, Jeff, you punched Shah Rukh Khan.
Yeah, you punched Shah Rukh Khan.
So that's my claim to fame, is that I punched Shah Rukh Khan. And it's actually funny, because in a career of over 30 years, the thing that I'm most recognized for is that, which is that moment in the film.
No, you're recognized for a lot of.
But I was in an airport in Paris, and the person who was checking us in to get into the queue to check in for the flight was a person of South Asian descent, and we were speaking in French. And she said to me in French, she's like, I know your face. I've seen you somewhere. I said, do you watch Bollywood films? She said, yeah. I said, have you seen Pathaan? She said, I just watched it. I was like, the Russian guy that punched Shah Rukh Khan? She's like, oh my God. I was like, yes. And she was like, go to the front of the line. And I was like, okay, I'll do this all day. So I got to come to the front of the line. That was actually fun.
It was such a crazy experience.
Yeah, it was a fun experience.
You did this. It's so cool.
That was a fun experience.
How was it sharing the screen space with Shah Rukh Khan and Pathaan?
Great.
So, Jeff, you're also a co-parent.
Yeah.
And there is so much conversation around things like co-parenting or a separation. And how do you think co-parenting has reshaped your life?
Oh, gosh. I don't know if your podcast is long enough for that one. But generally speaking, I have a 14-year-old son. His name is Ishan. And Ishan means the rising sun. And pretty much from the day he was born, his mom and I just kind of knew he was the rising sun for us, metaphorically, literally, and in every way it could be. And he's been the gravity that's held it all together since the day he got here. And I think his mom and I just sort of realized pretty quickly that we were much better parents and much better friends than we were at the relationship thing. And our relationship needed to evolve. And I think what we both understood was that we needed to allow it to evolve. We didn't want to resist that evolution, because we understood that to resist that evolution would have just created friction. Yeah. And it also would have hindered our ability to be parents to our son. So, and that's not to suggest that it was the easiest transition, because it's always a work in progress, with 2 people. But I am positive that Natasha, his mom's name, she and I came into each other's lives to make that little boy. And we did that. And I think we had the sense to say, okay, now we've done this, and let's do this together, but maybe we don't need to do this the way people traditionally view it.
Yeah.
And that's been really beautiful. Yeah. And as far as how has it shaped me, being a dad is kind of the only thing I ever wanted to do with my life. Of course, being a filmmaker, writer, director was something for me, but I always knew I'd be a dad. And, being Ishan's father is just truly, and people say this, but it's really true for me. It's like the best part of my day. It's just the best part of my day. And of course I love my son, but I like him. I really like him. I like talking to him. I like chatting to him. I love asking him what he's listening to in music. And I love hearing about what bands he's into, or for instance, recently he got very interested in this group called NWA, which Dr. Dre, Eazy-E started with. It was really cool, because suddenly he was listening to this hip hop music that I grew up with, and we were able to talk about it. Sometimes he comes
and you're
home,
suddenly bonding with
and he comes home from school, and we talk about history, we talk about books. And I just love having that experience to live life as his dad, but also as his like kind of like, you know, the person he bounces stuff off of. And it's great.
It's great.
Yeah, it's great. I love parenting. And I think that, you know, the biggest problem that I think a lot of people have is they get in their own way as a parent. Get out of your way, because it isn't about you. It's about them.
Yeah.
And, you know, your relationship with your partner or co-parent has to be, you have to defer to the kid. And I'm very, very, very blessed because, you know, I have a wonderful son. His mom's a great lady, truly my best friend. But my bestest best friend is my partner, Nicole. She's like the absolute coolest person on earth. She really is like the unexpected part of my life. And that's what I love about her. You know, every day with her is totally unplanned. And I love that. I love the fact that every day is kind of like a circus and kindergarten and arts and crafts. And I never know what we're going to do. And I love that. You know, it's one day, so decide we have to move all the furniture in the house around. Or one day we have to paint something on the wall. I hope
Nicole watches this.
Yeah. I mean, it's the most random stuff ever. And it's always a lot of fun. The only thing I can count on with my Nikki is we have to watch the sunset every day. That's her big thing.
This is such a dreamy thing.
Yeah, no, but it's true. She gets mad at me when we missed it. She's the best, dude.
So, Jeff, I'm going to jump into the rapid fire round. And don't think, you can just go. Sure. Theater or cinema?
Cinema.
New York or Mumbai?
Mumbai.
Rehearsals or live performance?
Always rehearsals.
Actors you wish you could train, living or dead?
There's no rapid fire to that one. But Ranbir Kapoor I'd love to work with. Christian Bale I'd love to work with. Jennifer Lawrence I'd love to work with. I'm going to have to think more about this. But, who else? Randy Puda, for sure. Yes. Akshay Khanna, for sure. And I got to think of one last one. What is his name? I'll think of it. Anyway. Yeah. Okay.
One trait every actor must have.
A sense of humor.
Overacting or underacting?
Always underacting.
Always underacting. Short films or big budget films?
Short films are poetry. Big budget films are pizza.
A performance that blew your mind recently?
Hamnet. Both actors, Paul Mescal and the young lady who played Shakespeare's wife, blew my mind.
One word you'll use to describe Bollywood today?
Popcorn.
Teaching or performing? What do you enjoy more?
Both.
One habit actors should quit immediately?
Drinking.
Art or commerce? What drives cinema today?
Commerce is what drives it, but art's what keeps it honest.
Honest. If not theater films, what would Jeff Goldberg be doing?
Writing a book.
Maybe that's the next thing on the list. One piece of advice you'd give your younger self?
Be patient.
3 tips for aspiring actors or artists in any genre.
Live in Paris, be patient, and make sure you have some really good friends.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I really appreciate you taking out the time.
Are you kidding? This was great fun. It's lovely to meet you, the team. Thank you so much. The one thing that in my crazy life I can always count on is that my partner, Nicole, or also known as Nikki Picky, loves the sunset. No matter where in the world we are, she wants to find a way to see it and always make sure that I'm in a rush home so that we could take the dogs for a walk. We have a special spot here in Bandra that we go to, but even when we're in Mangalore, which is where her family home is, we make sure to watch it. And it's just a nice moment that we always share together with the dogs, my son, and each other. And it's just kind of this very special moment you can count on. And in a crazy world is that the sun is going to rise and the sun is going to set. So everything else is kind of what happens in between. And I'm very lucky to have someone who puts importance into that, because it's a place and a time in our lives where we could do something that's very hard to do in this crazy city of Mumbai, which is be quiet and just sort of appreciate that we were together in that moment. So that's one thing that's something that's pretty regular in my life. And to you, the team, and everyone, thanks very much for having me. This was really fun.